Football season is almost here. We are officially done, I guess. Not officially, but we're past the talking stage of the offseason where the Gophers held their internal media day last week and they just wrapped up Big Ten media days this year in Las Vegas. So there's plenty to talk about. I have my own opinion on media days in general, where I think they're kind of pointless, but as someone who works in the media, that obviously gives us a lot of stuff to talk about. Um, so I thought today we talk about the most notable things that I learned from both situations, the internal media day and the one in Las Vegas, from the players, coaches, and kind of, I guess, now as we inch closer to the 2025 season, what we can talk about here. So, right at the top, I think the biggest thing that I continue to hear, that I have heard, that we will hear, is the relationship Max Brosmer had with Drake Lindsay. If you talk to any Gophers followers or fans, they're all going to talk about Lindsay. Is he the guy? With a new quarterback for the third straight year, fourth straight year if you really include Tanner Morgan, but that's what it all comes down to. Are the Gophers going to get above average play at that position? And is he going to be able to make the players around him better? The Gophers have plenty of talent on this roster, all over the field. But it sounds like Lindsay was attached at the hip of Brosmer last year. Everything that PJ Fleck says, everything that Lindsay says, everything that his teammates have said, is that he tried to soak up as much as he could from Brosmer last year. And Fleck had a really interesting quote on Wednesday at the Big Ten Media Days when he was at the desk on Big Ten Network. He mentioned how Max Brosmer is kind of the gift that keeps on giving to Gophers football. And there was a lot of uncertainty heading into last year at the quarterback position specifically, but really the whole roster and kind of where Gophers football was going. And I think Brosmer came in and gave the quarterback room a new culture. He gave the entire roster a new culture. And I think Lindsay noticed that. And I think he's going to carry that. That doesn't mean we know exactly how he's going to perform yet. But from a culture perspective, he's going to try and take as much as he can from Lindsay, a 23, 24-year-old quarterback last year, a fifth, sixth-year senior, and try to carry that into being a redshirt freshman. And what I'm excited to see and intrigued to see is how he does it from a college student perspective. I think Brosmer almost took last year with the Gophers, personally, as almost a minor league NFL development year, because he was in his mid 20s and it was his sixth year of college. But what I get from Lindsay is he is a college student, and the Gophers had that with Ethan Kaliakmanis in 2023. But Tanner Morgan was a very veteran QB. Brosmer was a very veteran QB. And Lindsay, from what I can gather, what I can hear, is he's a gunslinger and he's a college kid. He just wants to go out there and have fun. But I think what's important, and back to my previous point, is he learned how to be a mature college QB from Brosmer. So if the Gophers get the high end capability from Lindsay this year, I think it's going to be because he found the happy medium between that. He figured out how to be a college student still, be 19, 20 years old, but also be a Division I quarterback at a Big Ten program. And I think that comes back to Brosmer. I wrote a story on Gophers on SI, and if you look back at 2024, 20, 30 years from now, it's not going to be a season where Gophers fans are like, man, that was an amazing year. I have so many great memories from that year. I mean, there was the USC game, there was the Wisconsin game, and they won the Duke's Mayo Bowl. But it's not like that 2019 year where you talk to any Gophers fan on the street and they're going to rave about that season and talk about all the memories they had. But it could set up the Gophers now for a 2-year window that I continue to talk about here, where they have Lindsay and Koi Perich. and some of these other young players they got, like Malachi Coleman and Nathan Roy and Javon Tracy, and maybe Darius Taylor comes back for another year, AJ Turner. And I think a big reason is because Brosmer established a culture and a standard that PJ Fleck previously had, but I think they kind of needed to rediscover. So um, that was a big thing I've noticed. And then number two would be on the same thing with Lindsay is his friendship with Koi Perich. From all the interviews and availability and all of that, it seems like they are best friends, and they came to the Gophers in the same recruiting class, um, in the same high school graduating class, and it sounds like my favorite quote from Lindsay at the internal media day was that he has a picture in the back of the classroom. In one of their freshman classes where him and Coy were talking about offensive plays and formations and stuff. And that's an interesting thing because obviously we're going to continue to talk about Coy's offensive role this year. And it sounds like a big reason why they're able to do it and why they've had success doing it this offseason and preseason is because of the friendship between both of them. They trust each other. They spend a lot of time on the golf course, which I continue to hear a lot about how a lot of people on this team like to golf, which is interesting. But um, they're the two building blocks of this program right now. You obviously have Darius Taylor and Anthony Smith, but they could be gone after this year. They could go pro, and they could be very high draft picks. But Koi Perich and Drake Lindsay both have at least one more year of college. I expect Lindsay to be a little longer than that, but Koi's already talked about his NFL aspirations and that he might not be here too long, but him and Lindsay seem to have a lot of chemistry, and it's a really interesting thing. Not to, I guess, take a huge leap here, but I mean, we saw at Colorado recently how good of friends Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter were, and that is a insane comparison to make. The situations are completely different, but Koi Perich, two-way player, Shador Sanders, quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how that flourishes. But when you have two players like that who are great friends on different sides of the ball, that can only help overall team chemistry. Um, and that was it was interesting to learn how close they clearly and obviously are heading into the season. And then number three was a big, I guess, headline grabber on Wednesday when PJ Fleck said one of the big theme he had three phrases for this year, um and that's a discussion for a different day, but one that stood out for me and the one that caught my eye was he said he wants this team to be delusional. If you're an optimistic Gophers fan, you see the opportunity that they have a very doable schedule. Like everyone points out, you got that Ohio State and Oregon game on the road where they'll be sizable underdogs, but they won't be huge underdogs in any other game. Maybe just the Iowa game, and we've seen them go in there and take down the Hawkeyes as recently as 2023. So you get a lot of fans that are like, man, 9-3, 10-2. As a Minnesota sports fan, you know that it's a bit ambitious to expect that, but I found it interesting that PJ Fleck realizes the potential that this team has. It all starts at the quarterback position. If they have poor play there, none of these goals are possible. But if they have great play or even above average play, there's totally a window to have a 9-3, 10-2 type year. But you got to be a little delusional. And I thought that was a very interesting perspective from Fleck that he's like, this team can make the playoff. No one else is going to believe it. So we have to be delusional and think that we can. And he mentioned Indiana last year, and that's going to be a big talking point, I think, for a while for programs like Minnesota because they showed it's possible. If all the chips fall in your favor, you can make a run like that in this new format. And that quote was an interesting thing because Fleck is notoriously a week by week guy, and he's notoriously said, "You just got to beat who's in front of you." And It's a 1 week season every week. And I think years in the past, you would say, oh, we're just going to go 1-0 in the Buffalo season. But that was a very year outlook view. So I found that interesting, and it shows how confident he is in this Gophers team. Um, Another interesting takeaway here was Koi Perich's offensive role. It's something I'm looking at closely, something I'm intrigued by, is what it's going to look like. We continue to hear that it's not just a gadget thing. It's not just a few plays here and there. They want him to have a big role, but he played a lot of running back in high school. Little Wildcat QB. I think he had only like 10 or 12 receptions his senior year. And what I found interesting is Coach Fleck said that it's probably going to be at wide receiver, his offensive role. He's 6'1", but he's stocky. He is a dense 6'1". So I anticipated it maybe being a little more of a running back role. So it's interesting. He mentioned even like an outside receiver, not even a slot situation. So um, that's something certainly worth monitoring. He said wide receiver and wildcat QB on top of his normal safety and returner roles that he had last year. Um, he reiterated that it's not going to be a gadget thing. Um, and it just, I'm going to be so fascinated week one. It's just, he keeps saying it's not a gadget thing, and then comes out and he gets 1 or 2 touches. That would not surprise me at all. And honestly, I think I'm still just anticipating that's what it's kind of going to be, because the Gophers have so many weapons offensively. But Fleck pointed that out, how he can help in that wide receiver room with Javon Tracy, Logan Loya, Lemeki Brockington, and he has such a good relationship now with Drake Lindsay. So, um, Wildcat QB, Fleck loves to do that with Seth Green, Cole Kramer. Last year Brosmer was doing those QB sneaks, but maybe Perich comes in on the red zone package. Um, so we got at least a few more details. We haven't heard that wide receiver thing yet. Um, it doesn't surprise me that that is something he's going to do, but I kind of thought it might be a little more in the running game, and it sounds like that is not the plan. So, um, I found that to be interesting. Um, and then I guess overall, the last thing I want to talk about here is just the vibe around the team, because in this era of college sports, there's a lot of fifth and sixth year seniors, and you want to get old and stay old. That's a big talk in college basketball, but in football, it's a real thing too. And the Gophers have plenty of players like that this year, with Jalen Logan Redden, Marcellus Marshall on the offensive line, a few of their other transfers, Dylan Ray, um, and they have plenty of experience. But this seems like just a throwback college football team with a bunch of actual college students that just want to go out there and ball. And Koi Perich, he is a guy who just loves football, and he just wants to grind football. Drake Lindsay, he just loves football, and Darius Taylor. It's just, those are now three guys that we've seen develop in the program, and everyone loves to complain about the uh, modernity of college football, how it's just 1 year rentals. But at Big Ten Media Day, it was four guys that were recruited by Minnesota out of high school, and they've stayed with them. And Anthony Smith specifically is a guy we've seen develop in the program now. Lemeki Brockington, Drake Lindsay, and Koi Perich are only in year two, but Darius Taylor in year three, Jamison Gears at tight end. On the offensive line, Greg Johnson, Ashton Beers. Defensive line, Devin Eastern, Jalen Logan Redden, Maverick Baranowski at linebacker. Kerry Brown at safety, a guy I haven't mentioned that I think is one of the most overlooked players on this team. And I think this season for the Gophers will be a year that a lot of fans who've shooed away college football, complaining about these things that in their own right are frustrating if you're a fan, with the transfer portal, with NIL and all that. This is an old school college football team, a throwback to 5-10 years ago, I think. And there's a lot of different outcomes for this year, but listening to all the interviews, it just seems like it's a loose team that just wants to go out there and sling it, and that kind of has the confidence that they want to be delusional. And I just thought it was refreshing to hear a lot of the interviews, and there's plenty of reason for optimism heading into 2025. And next step now will be there's a open practice for the fans on August 2nd, not this upcoming Saturday, but the following Saturday, and then fall camp I believe starts this Sunday. So it's right around the corner, almost a month away until they take on Buffalo. So buckle up, football season's right there, and should be an exciting one to follow for the Gophers. As always, I appreciate everyone for watching and listening. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and that'll help us get found. And check out our other Minnesota sports coverage on Gophers, Twins, Vikings, and Timberwolves on SI. And until next time.